इंडिया के कुछ आर्म्ड ऑफिसर्स और सोल्जर्स ऐसे हैं जिनको अपनी जान से हाथ धोना पड़ा, बट नॉट while defending their own motherland. Yes, around 175 ऐसे officers or soldiers हैं who laid down their lives to ensure peace is maintained worldwide. And to understand how big a deal this is, no other country has had more people die while performing this particular duty. But how come they were deployed outside India? The answer lies with this: UN Peacekeeping. Peacekeeping activity में participate करने वाले peacekeepers का काम होता है international conflict में peace ensure करना. Basically, they are an impartial force which tries to resolve conflicts. और इसमें इंडिया है one of the biggest contributors. According to the United Nations, ये नंबर लाखों में है. 2 लाख से भी ज्यादा इंडियंस ने ये रोल निभाया है. And since 1948, they have been part of more than 2/3 of such missions. 49 out of 71 missions. एक फॉर्मर इंडियन आर्मी ऑफिसर है जनरल इकबाल सिंह सिंघा, और इन्होंने अपने इस रोल में इंश्योर की 180 लोगों की सेफ्टी, वो भी बिना कोई वेपन उठाए. One of the most important figures in these operations, General Iqbal Singh Singha ने almost 40 साल तक इंडियन आर्मी को सर्व किया. From being posted in the tough conditions of the northeast or cities such as Pune, General Singha was a commanding officer in Kashmir's Poonch district even when the Kargil war was going on up north. A highlight of his army career was that over a period of time, his unit in the Rajouri Poonch districts near the line of control, 5 Rajrif Napiers, was able to take down 54 terrorists and around 10 surrendered. He has also been a force to keep our border secure and protected from any threat, because he served as the general officer commanding in Gujarat and southern parts of Rajasthan. And apart from all of this, he was given the opportunity to represent his nation at the prestigious peacekeeping mission of the United Nations called UNDOF.
5 to 6 countries are offered this particular post. So India volunteered to take it on, and out of 150 odd major generals, I was selected to represent India. So failure was not an option in that selection.
General Singha was appointed as the head of mission and force commander of UNDOF. To summarize, एक मिशन के सारे पीसकीपर्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी उनके ऊपर थी. जनरल सिंघा को पोस्ट किया गया था गोलन हाइट्स में, and he was right there in the middle of the conflict between Israel and Syria. इस मिशन में उनके अंडर इनिशियली थे अराउंड 1000 ट्रूप्स और 200 सिविलियंस, और बाद में 300 सोल्जर्स और आए. एंड ये सारी ट्रूप्स थी 9 डिफरेंट कंट्रीज से, इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, और 30 ऑड कंट्रीज के ऑफिसर्स. और उनके लिए ये सब इतना स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड नहीं था, क्योंकि पहले जहां आर्मी में उनको वेपन्स के यूज की आदत थी फॉर डिफेंस, यहाँ सिचुएशन पूरी उल्टी थी. यहाँ he had to refrain from using these weapons, and there were also the challenges of diplomacy involved.
In fact, the Israeli ambassador, I don't know whether he was trying to intimidate me or whatever, he tells me that, how are you traveling? I said, I'm going to Damascus from New York. He says, I hope you reach in one piece. So sure enough, after 6 months when I came back to New York for another meeting, I told the ambassador, I'm still in one piece and I have plans to continue that way. So I think he was testing my resolve, and I came from a very professional army.
As you must have realized by now, this was a part of his job, but not the most difficult one, because there were some extremely dangerous situations which included violence, capture of people, and everything that could go wrong would go wrong. Over a period of around 2 years, 10 major incidents took place. और अगर आप सोच रहे हो कि उनको कैसे कैसे लोगों से डील करना पड़ता था, तो आप खुद जनरल सिंघा से सुनिए.
There were more than 30 rebel groups operating in our area, the area where no armed soldier or armed person of Syria or Israel is supposed to be. Al-Nusra was the most potent nationalist group.
Later on, one of the groups got affiliated to ISIS. So General Singha had ISIS people come over their area as well. लेकिन ISIS की प्रेजेंस के अलावा एक इंसिडेंट और ऐसा था जिसने उनका पूरा एक्सपीरियंस और पूरा पेशेंस निचोड़ लिया, जहां लगभग 120 जानें खतरे में आ गई. इजराइल और सीरिया के बीच पीसकीपर्स के लिए सिर्फ एक ही क्रॉसिंग प्लेस थी.
The Syrian company that was protecting it was routed, and some people were killed, and then we had our own post very close to it.
और इसी झड़प में फंस गए पीसकीपर्स. 1, 2, 8 या 10 नहीं, more than 40 of them. 43 से 45 Fijian peacekeepers, and अगले लगभग 15 दिनों तक they did come back.
Probably these groups were short on ammunition and on weapons, and they thought that let's take the UN weapons.
And this is where this saga got even more deadly. इन ग्रुप्स ने फिर कैप्चर की दो और पोजीशंस जहां फिलीपींस के ट्रूप्स तैनात थे, एक जगह 40 और दूसरी जगह 32 लोग। एक रिपोर्ट फिलीपींस के ट्रूप्स का नंबर 81 बताती है। तो एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम अराउंड 45 फिजियंस और 70 to 80 फिलिपिनोस कैद है, लगभग 120 लोग, और इसकी जिम्मेदारी थी जनरल सिंघा पर। ना ही सिर्फ ये सोचना था कि कैसे इन कैद पीसकीपर्स को निकाला जाए, देयर वाज आल्सो द मैटर ऑफ डीलिंग विद एंग्शियस ऑफिसर्स फ्रॉम हिज ओन टीम।
We found that this cordon, which went on for 2-3 days, the Filipino soldiers were very anxious in that. The commander came and told me somebody may commit suicide or this and that. We must get them out. So I said, fine, we'll get them out. And firstly, let me negotiate about the Fijians who are already with them, 45 of them. They said, no, first get our soldiers out. A lot of pressure from Philippines and all. And I said, no, that is not possible. For me, all soldiers are equal.
With the help of negotiations, the Fijians were eventually released around 15 days later, where one batch of the Filipinos was rescued by a force reserve company, another escaped under the cover of artillery fire. And General Singha was part of the negotiations in all of this.
Fortunately, all our prisoners were taken by groups other than pure ISIS group.
जनरल सिंघा के इस एडवेंचर में एक और दिलचस्प एपिसोड था। He had to take the call whether to cancel the mission or continue doing it. फाइनली उन्होंने डिसाइड किया अपने मैंडेट को पार्शियली कंटिन्यू करने का, बट फ्रॉम द इजरायली साइड। और ये बिल्कुल भी आसान नहीं था, क्योंकि उस तरफ पार कराना था अराउंड 1300 लोगों को, और उसमें सिविलियंस भी इंक्लूडेड थे।
And as I mentioned earlier, the only crossing place was closed. It was in the hands of the rebel groups.
एक क्रॉसिंग प्लेस थी, एक पतली कच्ची सड़क। ये उसी विलेज से जाती है जहाँ पहले रेबल ग्रुप्स ने आर्म्स उठाए थे।
They in fact helped us to cross over onto the other side. They said we don't want peacekeepers to face any difficulties in this because you have done a good job over the months.
जनरल सिंघा के ऑर्डर्स क्लियर थे, अगर कोई व्हीकल फंस जाए तो सब बाहर निकले एंड दे रोल द व्हीकल डाउन द वैली, पर रोड ब्लॉक नहीं होनी चाहिए।
In 7 days we were able to get everybody onto the other side.
And in this role, it wasn't just his own troops that he had to look after. During his time in Golan Heights, foreign journalists were being abducted by dangerous groups. And General Singha's work meant कि उन्हें इन सिचुएशन से भी डील करना पड़ता था, including handing over a journalist safely.
And then the ambassador was waiting on the other side, the American ambassador and his defense attaché. So we came back and gave this journalist to them. They were quite relieved. In fact, typical, there's somewhere they would have seen the Indian way of greeting. They hugged me after he was handed over.
During General Singha's time there, around 180 peacekeepers were taken hostage, और diplomatic channels, negotiations और mediations के जरिए उन्होंने ensure की इन सब की safety.
हम अपनी सब peacekeepers की जान बचा पाए। बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, अच्छी नींद आती है। और मुझे क्योंकि इंडियन आर्मी की ट्रेनिंग मेरी इतनी कंप्लीट थी, तो कोई ऐसा इंसिडेंट नहीं लगा कि मुझे उसका जवाब नहीं पता था अभी क्या करना। जो मैं चाहता था कि माय हेड शुड नॉट हैंग इन शेम फॉर इनएक्शन, वो नहीं हुआ। हमने एक्शन लिया हर एक जगह और हम सफल हुए।
To experience and live all of that too in a foreign land is something I can't even begin to imagine. But as General Singha said, Indian Army की ट्रेनिंग होती इतनी पक्की है कि वो किसी भी सिचुएशन के लिए आपको पूरा तैयार करा देती है।
अगर आपको मेरी कहानी अच्छी लगी और आप ऐसी और कहानियाँ देखना चाहते हैं, तो वेट एंड वॉच ब्रेवहार्ट बाय डाइस मीडिया। हो गया?
Yeah.
कैसे लोग के नाम ले